GunninGamerz here. We're back on the farm, and today we're going to do a video on the New Holland DLC, as well as a comparison on all the front loaders and telehandlers. I've had several people that have asked me to make this video, and I've kind of wanted to do it for myself anyway, since it's always nice to be able to compare the vehicles and, you know, see which one is better and make sure that you're using the right piece of equipment for the right job. Now, what I mean by that is the way that I personally rate these, and this is from the most important to the least important, is by 5 different things. Well, it's pretty much just 4. We'll go ahead and cover those. The first one is the weight. I think that the weight with the front loaders and telehandlers is one of the most important things, because as far as picking up logs and things that are very heavy, the weight is going to basically tell you whether the vehicle is going to be doing a nosedive or if it's going to actually be able to pick up the tree and move it. If you're just moving, like, you know, stuff with the bucket, silage, things like that, not going to be a really big deal. All of these are going to pretty much perform the same since they use the same bucket. Of course, the front loaders and the telehandlers each have their own bucket, but they all share for each class. The second one would be the height, how high up it reaches. That's something right here that we will go ahead and knock out real quick, because we're looking at it right now. You can see that the lib here with the telehandlers does reach up the highest, and it is almost up with the New Holland. It's almost up to the same height, just a little bit short. And of course the JCB, although it has a very sturdy looking arm there, does not reach up very high. It's almost half of what the lib is. So that explains the telehandlers. And as far as the front loaders, you can see again the lib over here is kind of like the JCB over there. It doesn't reach up very high compared to the JCB and the New Holland, which even says it's a long reach. I would say that these two are pretty close the same. In fact, if you get up at their level, the JCB maybe only has a hair higher reach than the New Holland. It's so close, I would say it's hardly even worth debating, because they're pretty much going to go up about the same. So you've got the same reach on the JCB as you do the New Holland. So that takes care of height. The third thing would be the speed, or, you know, the power. That basically coincides with power. So, you know, if you have a big farm like Pleasant Valley, for instance, where you have a lot of traveling to do around the map, maybe you don't have enough money to put a front loader or telehandler in every part of your farm, at least with the speed, which the JCBs seem to excel at in their other equipment, it does make a big difference as far as being able to get around your farm. For the rest of us, we usually get our farms up and going. We'll only have the vehicle parked where it's being used, and we're not doing so much transportation. Speed then is not important at all. Again, it goes back to the number one thing for me, which is weight. The fourth thing is turning radius, how tight these ones turn. You've got 2 different styles on the telehandler. You've got the articulating type here with the JCB, and we've got the 4-wheel steer on the New Holland and the lib here. We did do a comparison about 2 months or a couple months ago on Westbridge, and we do already know that these two basically have the same, but we're going to compare it to the New Holland today. And as far as our front loaders, they're all the same type. They all articulate in the middle, so it'll definitely be worth to check that out to see if there's any difference there. And the fifth thing is cost. And the reason why I place that last, because for a lot of people, especially if you're playing in easy or normal mode, money is not a big deal. If you're in hard mode, you're not talking about still that much of a difference in money. You could go ahead and sell a little bit more crops and come up with the difference. I don't think money for a lot of people is a big deal in farming as far as how much something costs, and even the maintenance per day. And there's a lot of people that do, you know, like to use the money cheat, and we don't do that here, but we're playing about as hardcore as you can get, and even for us, money is never the issue. We've usually got enough of it. So, and this is in hardcore everything here, and, you know, we're sitting at 1.6 after our server running for 8 or 9 months. So it's not a big deal. But I'll go ahead and cover the costs here real quick. The New Holland, you're looking at $189,000, and just another little tidbit back on the power. we're looking at 195 horsepower. JCB, we're looking at 195,000, so it's a little bit more. Again, only 6,000, not a big deal. 230 horse. The lib, you're looking at 165, 156 as far as the horsepower goes. So it is a smaller, and it's a little bit cheaper. Again, money really doesn't make a big difference. New Holland telehandler, we're looking at 105,000 and 143 horsepower. Lib, 85,000, 122 horsepower. So getting started out on the farm, this one is quite a bit cheaper. And then finally we were looking at the JCB, which is 145 horsepower at $79,000. So again, it's even a little bit more cheaper as far as the price goes, but we'll go ahead and show the JCB off here in a minute, and I'll kind of show why I'm not the biggest fan of this JCB. And just up front, you know, the New Holland telehandler here as well as the New Holland front loader are both free DLC, so there's no reason not to get them in your game. The JCB pack costs $9.99, and as I've said many times before, people ask me, is it worth it? Is it worth it? It is absolutely worth it. It is worth it big time. The skid steer, I absolutely love it for doing stumps. It's the best that you're going to get unless if you're using some mods. So that definitely is a big winner. It's the only skid steer we have. The front loader here is outstanding, and the JCB tractors are like none other. They're very quick. The only JCB in the JCB pack I don't care for is this guy. It's not too bad. Some people might enjoy it, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's jump back to the number one thing, which is weight. We're going to pull each of them up to the scale and have a little way to find out how much we're looking at. Alright, so the JCB comes in at 7,746 on the scale. The lib here comes in at 7,026, so it's pretty close, just a few hundred less. And we're looking at 7,942 with the New Holland. So this one is the heaviest. However, it's not by much. You're looking at about 200 over the JCB, and it's nearly 1,000 over the lib. Now we're going to go ahead and put all these numbers to action, and we're going to try to lift up our biggest, heaviest tree that I could find, which is our big case with the silage roller on the back, and we just want to see how these perform as far as picking it up goes. And I've got all the telehandler arms in as far as they'll go, because that would be unfair for the lib over there that reaches out the farthest if we were trying to pick it up that way. I know this isn't the best comparison, but you will see that some of them are a little bit more capable than others as far as picking things up, and I can barely get the back of the tractor off the ground with the JCB. Now it's time for the lib to show us what it has. This has been my personal favorite, but I haven't done any testing with the New Holland, and we've only used a little bit on the conveyor over there to unload silage. And so I kind of want to know for myself, but I know over the JCB versus this one, I definitely like this one a lot better. Get the tractor up a little bit more. It's definitely having a harder time. Feels like there's maybe just it's a little bit easier, but still about the same. Let's see if the extra almost 1,000 on the scale makes a difference for the New Holland. Another thing to point out, I don't think this makes a real big difference, but the lib is also the widest of the telehandlers. Since it looks a lot like the New Holland, they share the same body style and everything. There is a difference as far as the width. Again, I don't think that's going to make any bit of difference in the farming. I don't think it's going to mean you're going to tip over more with the New Holland. Technically, this one is heavier. So you can definitely lift that back end off the ground with this one. So, big difference there. Very big difference as far as this New Holland versus the lib and especially the JCB when it comes to picking up the back of the tractor. So I would say with our most important thing here, which is weight, I think the weight definitely helps the New Holland, and it definitely wins in that category. So the next thing up will be the speed. We're going to go and head out on the road right out in front of the biogas area here. We've got a nice flat spot. We're going to see how fast we can get it to go, because for some people that have to transport around, especially a large map, the speed might definitely be something that's important. Alright, here we go. It looks like 25 is going to be the top speed for the New Holland. Now it's time for the lib to see what it has. Looks like 25 is going to be the top speed, so they are the same when it comes to speed. Here we go. So it too goes 25 miles an hour. So as far as the telehandlers, they are all the same. That leaves us with only one more thing, number 4, which is turning radius. Let's go ahead and jump in the New Holland, which is at the front. And with Farming 15 having tracks that are put down, really helps this test. We're going to go around a few times. Try not to get dizzy. Grab a barf bag if you need one. Make a nice tight circle right there. That's about the best way you're going to be able to test that. And if it's off just a little bit, it's not going to make a big difference, as long as they all turn about the same. I got a little bit farther to the inside with this one, but that again doesn't really matter. I would say they are exactly the same as far as turning radius. They're both 4-wheel steer, 4-wheel drive. I think there's pretty much no difference when it comes to turning radius with that one. Now, one thing to note that I like better about this style, not the articulating, is when you have your bucket on the front, you're kind of, to me it feels like you have more control over where the bucket's going than when you're articulating. I really like the 4-wheel steer a lot more. And this is the cab inside here too. You've seen this one many times. Beautiful cab. Interior view of the New Holland is probably even better. I really like it. The blue seat. All the gadgets. Time to jump in the JCB and see what it's got. I think this one performs the same as we tested these a few months ago. JCB interior. It's got a really nice interior, there's no doubt. I just, don't like that when you have a bucket on the front, how it articulates. I'm not a big fan of that style. Yep, and it's the same. Pretty much the same. I'd say there's absolutely no difference with turning radius. So it basically boils down to the weight. We know that the weight on the New Holland is the best. JCB comes in second, and the lib actually is the lightest one. As far as height that they reach up, we know that the lib on the right is the highest, and the New Holland's not far behind. The JCB does not reach up quite as far. So that's something to keep in mind. The only time that I have found where that's a real big deal is when you are doing trees and you're trying to pick a tree up high over maybe the wood chipper or something to move it, or some other equipment. I found many times where I'll go out to max height, but that's pretty much the only time. As far as getting straw and hay bales out of the barn that are stacked about 8 high, if you're using the vanilla automatic bale picker upper, any of these 3 are probably going to work just fine for that, but certainly the New Holland and the lib would be just fine for those jobs. So in my opinion, if you had to choose what's the best telehandler, I'd have to say it's the New Holland, and I think you guys all know my second choice would probably be the lib. The JCB I don't see it even having a place on our farm. It's not bad. We're going to probably stick with all New Holland, and we'll probably keep one lib around just for the sake of having one. Well, that concludes our test on the telehandlers. Now it's time to move on to our front loaders. Okay, so just to recap, our height, which is number 2 most important thing to me. Again, the JCB and the New Holland are pretty much the same, even though the JCB does look like it just has a hair higher. I call it pretty darn close to the same. I think that the loader's sitting a little more far forward with the JCB, and that's why it gives that appearance that it's up a little higher. But either way, pretty close. And the lib clearly is a lot shorter, and this comes in to play big time when you're trying to reach into the logging trailer and grab logs and pull them out. I know back when we only had the lib, it was a big pain to reach into that trailer and grab the logs out. I used to complain about that all the time, and when they gave us a JCB, it became a lot easier. Plus, I know that the JCB right now also weighs a lot more. We're going to go ahead and put them all 3 on the scale, since that is our number 1 most important thing with the front loaders as well. So the lib comes in at 13,129. The JCB comes in at 13,932, so that's almost 1,000 higher than the lib, and we're talking about almost double of the weight for the telehandlers. So it should pick up our big red tree over here a lot better. So this big guy weighs in at 14,519. So obviously when it comes to weight, this one is top dog. Now let's see how that compares when you're actually picking up something really heavy. And by the way, this big case over here with the silage roller does come in to 26 something on the scale, so 26,000, but pretty heavy. Weighs about double of what these guys do. And let's see how these compare. Back end's coming off the ground, back end of the tractor's off the ground. Really not that much better. I think the New Holland telehandler did a little bit better than this. Actually, I know the New Holland telehandler did better than this. Alright, now it's time for the JCB to strut its stuff. Again, it's about 800 higher on the scale than the lib. Let's see how that translates. Oh, much better picking up the back of the tractor. Didn't get it completely off the ground though. Back end is coming off the ground on both. Boy, that is one heavy tree. Let's see if we can give it one more time. Picks it up a little bit farther, a little bit easier. Again, I know this isn't the best comparison, but I can tell you from personal experience out with the trees and the logs. Every tree and every pile of logs are different, but overall, spending a lot of hours working with both of these two, this thing has been night and day difference. Definitely a lot nicer. Let's go ahead and see about the New Holland here, what we can get with it. Alright, well let's see what 14,500 has against 13,900 and 13,100. And it has 2 beacons. They don't like that. Here we go. Back end's coming off the ground a little bit. Definitely picks up on that tractor. I do have the forks under a little bit farther. See if I can back out. So it picks it up off the ground and can kind of hold it there. Definitely a big improvement. And again, from what I've seen in the field with this, out picking up trees and things like that, you do get a noticeable difference over even the JCB, but especially over the lib. This thing definitely, as far as weight goes, is the best. And I'd have to say that definitely wins, and our number one most important thing with the front loaders, and that is the weight. As far as height, it's about the same, maybe a touch less, but about the same. We're going to jump into the lib and start our speed test. The interior view of the lib is quite nice. The only thing I've never liked is that graphic up there. I know it's not a big deal, but when you're working up high with things like the trees, right at your max height, you got that dang sticker in the way, and I never did like that. When I was trying to get logs and stuff, I felt like that sticker was right in my way. Again, not a big deal, but have our little speed test. Not a big deal for us on our farm, but it is really nice on Pleasant Valley when you gotta drive these things all over the place across a 4 times or 8 times bigger map. We'll kick our HUD in here. We're talking about 156 horsepower, so this one is quite a bit smaller. Getting 26 miles an hour, 1 mile an hour faster than the telehandlers. Interior of the JCB is quite nice. Nice black interior. Have no issues with visibility when I get the bucket up. It goes up much higher than the top of your cab. That's okay. Visibility is otherwise quite nice. They all are the same as far as articulating. Alright, let's see what we get out of speed. .31 miles an hour, so you're looking at 5 miles an hour quicker, which may not sound like quite a bit, but that's a pretty big jump. And if you got to drive across a humongous map or any map, that extra 5 miles an hour is going to get you there a lot quicker. And finally, we're going to jump into our heavyweight here, the New Holland. The New Holland here's got a nice interior as well. Whole lot of yellow, but it's got a nice interior. I've had no real issues. Again, the bucket on this one will reach up a lot higher, or the arm will reach up a lot higher than what your cab visibility allows, but that's again okay. Nice cab on it, no complaints. So let's go ahead and see how fast our New Holland goes. And it looks like we're going to get another 26 miles an hour out of this one. So it's the same speed as the lib, 1 mile an hour faster than the telehandlers, but 5 miles an hour slower than the JCB. So the last thing we've got to do is our number 4 most important thing, and that's turning radius, which with these guys here I think is less important than the telehandlers. I'm really never in a situation where I'm being a little bit too critical over how tight I can turn, but I'd have to imagine with the body styles being quite the same that they're all going to perform the same, but it'll be a good thing to test it, because you never know. Alright, it looks like we've got nice little turning radius there, not quite as tight as the telehandlers, but still pretty darn good. Let's see if the JCB can match that. I think this is more important than anything on the telehandlers because you get yourself into tight situations, but again, I've never really had this issue with I didn't get lined up correctly there. It almost looks like this one is tighter, because I'm on the inside of the track there for most of it. It's pretty darn close, or maybe a little bit tighter even. So it's the same or just a little bit tighter. I thought I was off a little bit when I started it, but looked like we were on the inside of the outer ring for the lib the whole time. Let's just make sure that the New Holland is pretty close or the same. Yeah, again, I'm off, kind of egg shaping it here. I'd say it's the same as a JCB lib. I think they're all pretty much the same. I don't think you're not going to have one that turns like a little smart car and the other one like a school bus. I mean, they're all going to be the same. And with the turning radius again in the front loaders, I don't think it's near as important as telehandlers. So I think I'm going to pretty much call that one a draw. with the JCB and the New Holland possibly turning a little bit tighter. But we're not going to debate that too much. So I think, again, with the front loaders, I think you kind of have a tie. I think it really depends on what you're going to be using this equipment for. I know one thing is for sure, you're not going to want to consider this one unless if you really are hard up for cash, because again, going back, you're looking at 165, 195, and 189,000 respectively. So I don't think the money is a real big deal. They all use the same buckets and forks and all that on the front, so that's going to be the same cost. But I think you'd want to pass up on the lib and maybe go for one of these two. The JCB is a little bit lighter, but it's quicker by 5 miles an hour. The New Holland is heavier, but a little bit slower. So if you have a farm that you know you only have enough money to buy one front loader for the time being, and you're going to have to transport it all over from your biogas to your logging areas to where you unload logs and everywhere else, you probably are going to want to go with the JCB. Because the extra 5 miles an hour with the speed, it's going to help out a lot when you're tooling around your farm. Now, if you're like the rest of us and you're strictly using it in one place because you've got several and you really care about that extra weight, being able to pick up big, massive piles of logs, unloading, loading, and vice versa, I think you're going to want to choose the New Holland. I know for us on our farm in Bjornholm here, we're going to be running the New Hollands. And I think we're definitely going to keep our JCB around, and we'll find a job for it since it's such a close tie on these two. But with the logging area, I'm for sure going to go with the New Holland because that extra weight, the extra 600 on the scale, definitely will be a nice little benefit. And I think over on Westbridge, being that it's more of an open map, we might run more of the JCB on that side of things since I can see us transporting around that map a little bit more, at least for the time being. So it's pretty close tie on those two. You guys can look at the numbers and make your own judgments. Let's go ahead and jump over to our farm store and have a look at the brand new New Holland DLC. So this, my friends, is the brand new New Holland FR 850. This is a DLC that will cost you $6.99 US, and a lot of people have asked me, is it worth it? Well, I think any DLC that comes out for Farming Sim is worth it because I absolutely love to see the game progress and I want to support the game in every way possible. And I love DLCs, I love new content, I love new stuff. So I think, yes, you should get it, but I'm going to also tell you at the same time that this machine here does not offer a huge benefit or really any benefit over what we already have, and that's the Krone Big X 1100, which technically, just for the record, is probably better, but this thing has a really nice interior and it's something new, it's something different to look at, and it sounds really great. After using the Krone products for the last 3 versions of Farming Sim, I know the Big X 1100 was not in 2011, but I had it as a mod. And I think we had like the Big X 1000 or something like that. But we've been looking at the same things for year upon year, and I don't mind that. I love that. I love the big Krone, but we're gonna take a look. We're gonna compare them. Probably the most important thing, the thing that we all use these machines the most for, is turning our corn into chaff. And if you see here, you've got the Krone Easy Collect, which is 10.5 meters, sitting up against the brand new New Holland counterpart, which is at 9 meters. So you're looking at about 1.5 meters there. And as far as price of these two headers, you're looking at $38,000 for the New Holland and $45,000 for the Krone. Again, $6,000 is nothing that most of us are going to, raise an eyebrow over. I don't think cost with this vehicle is going to be a real big deal breaker, but if you want to throw the numbers out there, the Big X 1100, $415,000. For the FR 850, it's $385,000. So when you're getting started, it would be a little bit easier for you to be able to purchase this. And I know if this would have been available back when farming came out and we were looking, when we had the money at first to buy one of these vehicles, we would have started out with the New Holland. But now it comes out after the fact, and we don't have much reason to use this for taking our corn down. So if you take the price of the vehicle or the machine with the header price, you're looking at $460,000 total for the Big X, and the FR850, the New Holland here, you're looking at $423,000. That's only a difference of $37,000, and for most of us, that $37,000 is really not going to be that much harder. When you're talking about 400 some thousand, $37,000 is not going to be a big deal to come up with that little bit of cash. So that's just to put the money thing out there. Again, I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker for most of us, but this is the 3 new attachments that we did get. And it's also important to mention that they did throw another header in there, and I'm not sure why, but they put the Kemper product, which is identical in every way to the New Holland one, except it's red. So it's a different color. And something else important to mention is that I have found, and I haven't tested with these, but with these headers, the corn ones, they're all interchangeable. I could put these on the Krone, and I could actually run the New Holland here with the bigger Krone attachment. There is a power difference as far as the horsepower goes. This one, I don't have the number in front of me, so we'll have to go ahead and take a quick peek. Basically 824 horsepower, and you're looking at 1,034. That's why this is the 1100, and they call this the 850. So you've got a few hundred horsepower difference. Now where this might make a difference is pulling around a trailer. And I've got a setup right over here. Probably can't see it. We'll go over there in a minute, and we're going to pull a full trailer of corn up that hill. We're going to go over there and try that out. But first, I really want to let you guys hear this great sound. That is one of the best startups of any vehicle in the game right now. Absolutely love it. It's got lots of lights on it. It's got your blinkers. In most ways, it is very comparable to the Krone. There's just really no difference except that horsepower. And we're going to find out if the horsepower, again, makes a difference with what this thing can pull going up a hill. Because I think that's important if you are trying to get around your farm and you're actually using this thing to pull a trailer. For like most of us and you're shooting it into a semi-trailer, as long as this thing can move around, that's okay. We're going to go out and mow a little bit of grass just to hear this thing working. But I think we're going to end up keeping this on our farm here in Bjornholm. And I believe what we discussed we're going to do is we're going to probably keep this header, and we're probably going to start turning some of our grass and cereal crops in the chaff. Turn our blinkers off. So that pretty much says it all. Sounds great. Has a nice backup. The other one there is when you shut the machine off, it gives you that little warning. Let's put our pipe down. And I also want to test the actual speed of not pulling anything, just to see here, but we'll have to find a flat surface. This road isn't exactly flat, but if we test them in the same area, that should be good enough. You're looking at 26 miles an hour. It's pretty standard with a lot of the equipment. And it bounces off of trees. Has a rubber front end. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really know. So basically 26 miles an hour, and I think the Big X does the same. But I've chose this hill here to do our little hill climb test because, again, for some of you that are playing single player, maybe don't have somebody in here to run a trailer for you, this might be a very common way, and this trailer is one of the only ones, or the only one in vanilla, that will hook up to the back of the Big X. So you may be running this back and forth across Bjornholm and some of these maps, and so I just picked out this hill here, and Of course, all your chaff is going to go to your biogas, and there's several hills getting over that way. Alright, let's see how fast we get up this hill. Interior. Chrome, we've seen this one for years. It's got a nice interior. And this is full of 32,000 liters of corn. It looks like 7 miles an hour. Is our speed going up here with almost 1,100 horsepower. Getting it up to 9. Getting up to 10 now. Definitely makes a big difference when you're pulling a trailer. I'm really excited to see because I've never tried this with the New Holland. Back to 7. This isn't so important for us because we rarely ever hook a trailer up behind, but could be a deal breaker for some people. Again, we're only talking about 37,000. And finally we're up to 12, 13, and all those good numbers. So let's go down, drop our trailer, and we'll do the speed test without a trailer real quick. Okay, let's see what it'll do. .26. So they are the exact same, empty, going down the road. 26 miles an hour. I will say the New Holland does sound nice though. Alright, let's see what this little guy can do. We got down as low as 7. And then we got to up to 10 and then back to 7 again on the other part. I think I started right about like that. Difference probably doesn't matter a whole lot anyways. No, we're getting about exactly the same. Actually, we're maybe a little bit quicker. Getting up to 10. 11. We never hit 11. 12. And we got back to 8. We never even hit 7. Wow. That is shocking. I never would have guessed it. I never would have guessed it. Being that this has less horsepower, that almost doesn't seem right. Now I'm wondering where I started and I forgot. I gotta go and do that test over again. I'm gonna start it with the trailer at the edge of the road. I can't remember if I had the trailer or the vehicle. Okay, here's our second test. We're at the edge of the road. I think this is how I had it before, so technically the New Holland got a little bit of a jump start the first time. But let's see, let's test it one more time here. Getting to 7. No, we hit 8. And then 9. Again, this isn't like record-breaking speeds or anything like that, but I would have assumed that we would have been a few miles slower, maybe going 5 or 6 up the hill. See, we're at 8. It's a whole mile an hour faster throughout. And at the end of the day, it pulls things better, at least as good, but we're seeing better than the Krone Big X. So don't let the power deter you from shying away on this one. I think the only thing about this New Holland that I'm seeing is that the header that matches it as far as color is smaller. Again, you could use the big Krone on it. It would work. We'll hook it up there in a minute. But this thing it sounds great. Has a nice cab. if you're going to use the headers, which I haven't covered that either, the price of the headers with grass, the grass and the cereal crop headers, I think they're even the same price, 34 and 35. It's actually $1,000 more. Again, I don't think anybody's going to care about that price. You're looking at $14,000 for both of these. Maintenance and everything is pretty well the same. There's nothing as far as difference there. That's why we didn't really talk about these a whole lot. They're pretty identical. The sizes, you're looking at 3 for this style and 6 on both for this, 6 and 3. So there's no difference there. If you're going to be using for that, I have to say, I would save the money and go with the New Holland. It sounds nice. The power absolutely doesn't seem to affect it whatsoever. Now it might change if you're using a modded trailer. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and hook up. Kind of coming in at a bad angle here. So there's the big crone. And you see it works just fine. It doesn't really look that bad, but it would bother me on my farm. I wouldn't be able to handle seeing that. Doing live streams in front of people and making YouTube videos, mixed matching equipment like that just wouldn't seem proper. So I guess the very last thing I want to show you, well, let's go back and hook up to that real quick. And I'm assuming everybody's seen this many times, how the Krone product folds up. Not that, again, none of this matters. Just kind of a tri-fold there. Nothing fancy. We showed this one folding up in our last chore log number 7. There's that one in action. Pretty much the same. And it folds up like that, and then this wheel pops out of nowhere. I think in real life that is something that detaches. Maybe you pull some pins and then that pops off of there, so that's how they chose to make that animation, was it would just suddenly disappear. Which is fine. Probably the best way they could have done it. That's how that one works. And when it's all folded up, it looks like this. Has lights on there too, which is pretty neat. When you unfold that, they're going to stick out like that. I don't think the Krone has that, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's pretty much that in a nutshell. I don't know if I can choose a clear winner. I mean, when it comes to doing the corn and stuff, I think it's a clear winner. I think the Krone is your best way to go, especially because we don't pull trailers around. And the 1 mile an hour speed difference is not bad. So I still think having the matching header on for us is important. 10.5 meter, why would you want to go with 9 meter when you can have 10.5? So I'm still going to choose the Krone every time when it comes to knocking the corn down. But if you're using these other attachments to pick up grass rows or something like that, or you're cutting cereal crops, so basically grass and cereal crops are using these other 2 headers, if you were only going to do that, like we might start doing, it makes total sense to go ahead and buy the New Holland instead of the Krone. Is this pack worth the $6.99? I think everything that comes from Giants is worth every dollar because I get so many hours out of the game. I mean, it's ridiculous if you think about how many hours of fun you'll get out of the very little bit of money that they charge for their game, their product. So I've had a lot of people ask me that. Yes, it's worth the $6.99, absolutely. Is it something you're missing out big time if for some reason you don't have the $6, $7 to get it? No, not really. You're going to be just fine and happy with the Krone. I would save up a couple extra dollars when you get it and go with the JCB DLC if you don't already have that. That is still my favorite DLC pack. that'll pretty much be it for me today, folks. I want to thank you so much for checking out this video. Sorry if it got a little longer than I wanted it, but that is our comparison of the New Holland DLC, as well as all of the front loaders. Have been wanting to do this comparison for a long time to break all the myths, and check out the DLCs on Steam is where I get them from. Otherwise, you can head over to Giants, but I always like to buy everything off Steam. They'll keep it updated for you. Don't forget to check out our Twitch page where you can go ahead and find out when we're live streaming and see all these vehicles in action. Check out our past chore logs if you'd like to see more action with all of these machines. And until next time, folks, I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. We'll see you all next time. Take care.